Hi everyone. So this is Info Soldier coming to you live. I don't know if you'd call it live. It's a recording, but I'm coming to you from Florida. It's June 1st, 2021, and I wanted to make a recording talking more about what is freedom and what does it mean in the Constitution. What is the concept of freedom both in the United States and as a Homo sapien and as a soul, as an angelic creator connected to God. And what supersedes answering to a human entity, which is the idea of a king or tyrant, monarch, all those jerks, that want to try to control other people. I do want to take a point, though, that there is a mathematical, scientific component to this as well, because nothing on planet Earth, or I should say nothing in the universe, is anything, but also, well, let me take a step back. Anything in the universe and anything on planet Earth can be represented in mathematics, period. Mathematics is the architecture of God's mind. We as Homo sapiens have developed a certain pattern of mathematics and symbols to represent certain patterns and structures that we find here on Earth and just elsewhere in physics, and just other concepts that are actually architectures of our brain and our thinking. Where does that come from? Well, mathematics is essentially a thought. It's a logic structure. It's a set of rules that can be used to understand and map patterns and overlay how things move throughout the universe. And if you were to say that the universe was created by God, then you would have to say that God created it through his thought. If we are children of God in the parent-child relationship, God being the parent, humans being the children, but it doesn't have to be children. It doesn't have to be Homo sapiens, right? It could be intellectual people, intellectual consciousnesses on other planets or other dimensions. What do you think an angel is? If we are the creation of God, that means we are a creation of God's thought. And if we can think in terms of the creation of mathematics, which can be used to predict almost anything within reason in terms of how accurate the mathematical model is with the data it has, then you can now understand the concept of thought from God's mind. Now, I'm not an atheist. I'm not going to say that I don't teach mathematics at a university level, but I do work with mathematics. I do have a degree in it. But why am I talking about that? I think a lot of times people can get kind of thrown off by the idea of freedom. Freedom, America! Freedom of speech! You know what I mean? The First Amendment stuff in America. And I'm an American. I love America. But we need to get past this whole America thing if we're going to actually talk about freedom. If you're actually going to talk about freedom, America is really a secondary component to freedom. Let that sink in. If freedom is a mathematical constant of the consciousness of the soul, right? That's the whole point. God gave us free will. We're children of God. If we're free, what the hell, I'm not saying get rid of the United States. But if you're a free person and you can think freely, independently of yourself right now, what difference does it make if there's the United States or not? What does freedom mean to someone who's 10 years old and is about to die in Africa because their organs are starving to death and it's eating itself? What's the freedom in that? You have the freedom to go to Walmart and buy products you were told to buy that your phone or your TV told you to buy. Is a Walmart a great representation of America and freedom? You have a car. People say that's a symbol of freedom. Get in your car, drive on the road. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to the mountain. Really? Is that freedom? Pretty sure you had to drive on a road to get there. Pretty sure that road was constructed prior to your journey. Get what I'm saying? So these things that are in our lives embody ideas of freedom. But what is pure freedom? I'm not going to tell you what that answer is. that would be stupid for anyone to try to answer that question. But we can at least look at the core concept of freedom from a mathematical sense. You could take a look at the independent variable. An independent variable is a free variable. It is a variable whose value is whatever it chooses to be, independent of any other vector component of energy or input is applied to it. That's the idea of the soul. Your soul inhabits this body for an X amount of time, and then it goes away. Is the soul destroyed? No. Your consciousness is not destroyed. Your self-awareness is not destroyed. It cannot be destroyed. You cannot be destroyed. Your self-awareness can never be destroyed because that is a constant in the universe. That is a constant of that's the whole point of God. That's the idea of God. That's the idea of source energy. God is the source energy of consciousness. God himself is all consciousness. And we are threads or strands of that consciousness. So freedom is really the thought of thinking independently from anything else. What are the vehicles? Well, let me take a step back. That's great. But you know what? That doesn't mean anything. Because let's be real. I know for a fact that someone in India or China or Africa that are in really dire situations, I know that they are thinking freely. Are they a free people? Is their consciousness free? Are you more free than them by living in the United States? Are you less free? These are things to think about. But freedom is a very new concept in terms of its practical application. That's what I'm trying to get at. The mind has been free and your soul has been free for trillions of years, infinite amounts of time, regardless of how many lives you've lived. You know, whether you think this is the only life you've lived or millions or billions. If you take a look at reincarnation. But it is irrelevant because what the United States is an expression of freedom. It's an expression of a people, of a doctrine, of a land plot that tries to embody or enable that free thinking. Or I should say, maybe not free thinking, but really your one individual's own ability to think on their own or be self-aware on their own or consciously aware of their own doing. That really is under attack. You know, take a look at what the bankers are doing. These bankers, they realized they realized pretty quickly, especially after the Roaring '20s and after World War II, the central bankers and the blood families that own and control all of the central corporate banking structures of the world and all of the world's currencies, they realized the easiest way to enslave people was through the mind. And the easiest way to get all the world's resources was to take control of the mind, because if you can convince someone to give up your land or their home or their speech or their children, you know, what do you think this transgender stuff is under the age of 18 on children? If you could convince someone to consciously give up everything they've ever conceived of being their own through their mind, if you could control the mind, then you own everything that they own. You own their land, you own their house, you own their children. You own their being. And they realized if they could convince the brain to give these up, then they wouldn't need to manufacture a single bullet or tank. There's not much more to talk about this. This is the first video. We're going to expand on that. But mathematically, freedom is the independence of thought from anything other than your own thought. The freedom to think what you want to think and explore the caverns of your own mind. You know, when you think to yourself, are there other people around you? Only if you invite them. Not even God really tries to hinder on your thoughts. He gives that for your own space. It's like your own bedroom. freedom is a mathematical constant that we are going to explore. And these are some thoughts on it. This is going to be fun. If you have any interests or comments or anything you want to say, just leave them in the box below. I'll take a look. YouTube's the best way. For right now, radio format, audio, black audio, no visual. I've tried the video recordings and stuff. It's just difficult with work in my workspace, so I'm going to stick to the audio. Leave a comment, subscribe, like the video, comment on what you want to see talked about, and we'll explore this further. God bless.